This is a lesson for 12-2 day 5. Now, this lesson can be very, very frustrating, just to warn you. If you think back to doing reverse FOIL in previous days, if you take a look at the bottom here, when you did your answers, the order that you put your answers in did not matter. So when we had an example like x squared plus 3x plus 2, we were doing what times what is 2, that adds up to 3. So you could put your plus 1 and your plus 2. Either way, both of these answers would be perfectly acceptable. The order didn't matter. Today, because our A term is not going to be 1, right? All of your answers have an A term that's greater than 1 today. Because your A term is bigger than 1, the order that you put your numbers in matters. This is very, 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 very important. The order matters today. So you're still doing what times what is the last number that adds up to the middle number. But when you do your parentheses today, this term, this 3, is going to go out front. Well, what causes that to happen? Because when we do our first, we have to have 3x times x, which gives you 3x squared. Well, what happens then is when you go to do your outers, whatever number you put here, right, has to be multiplied by 3 before you add it to the inners to get your negative 14. So the order matters today. I would strongly recommend writing out possibilities. There's going to be a lot of trial and error today. Sometimes you're going to get lucky and guess right. Other times you're not. So what are the possibilities? What are the possibilities of what times what is negative 5? Well, we could have negative 1 and positive 5, but because the order matters today, we could also have 5 and negative 1. We could have negative 5 and positive 1, but we could also have 1 and negative 5. So there's really 4 different possibilities that you would have to try today and see if they work, right? So let's try this first one and see if it works. So when you go to plug in your numbers here, if we try this first one, if we try now, I know that I want a negative 14 in the middle. Do you think you would be better off putting a 1 here and a 5 here? Well, when I take a look at this, I'm multiplying a 3 times a 1, and then I'm adding it to some sort of 5. Is 3 times a 1 plus some kind of 5 going to ever give me a 14? No, it's not. So you know what? I'm not going to put the negative 1 out there. I'm going to try first with the 5s. So let's see if I do a negative 1 and a positive 5, what I end up getting. So negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. That's right. 3x times x is 3x squared. That's right. I'm more concerned today about the outers and the inners. So 3 times 5. Well, 3 times 5 is positive 15 plus 1 for the inners would be positive 14. Well, I see that my B term is a negative 14. So this answer doesn't work. I'm just going to cross it right out from my list. But let's see if we can do some other kind of combination here that would get us our answer. I saw that I got a positive 14 instead of a negative 14. So let's try the opposite and try a plus 1 and a negative 5. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15x for our outers. 1 times x is 1x for our inners. When I go to add those together, ding, 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 I have a negative 14x, which is what I want. So that's where this one is going to be your answer. The other combinations of things would not work. Let's try another one. So 3x squared plus 14x plus 8. So what are some combinations of 8? Well, you have 1 times 8. You have 8 times 1. Be very, very careful. You also have negative 1 and negative 8, negative 8 and negative 1. We have 2 and 4, 4 and 2. And then we have negative 2 and negative 4. We have negative 4 and negative 2. Now, let's use some common sense. If I'm doing a negative and a negative, I'm going to get negative numbers in the middle. all right, when I go to add together my outers and my inners. So I don't want to, I don't even want to try all these double negatives. Yes, that will give me a positive 8, but I'm not going to try that. So I have a 3 out front and a 1 here. Now, what times what is 8 that adds up to negative 14? Whatever number you put here is going to end up being multiplied by 3. So do I really want to multiply an 8 by a 3? Probably not. To get a 14, 8 times 3 is 24. So I'm going to avoid the 8s. Do I really want to multiply that 3 by a 1 before I add it to an 8? Well, 8 and 3 don't give me combinations of 14. So I'm going to focus in on the 2s and the 4s, all right? Let's say that we tried let's just try that first one, a +2 and a +4. Let's see if that works. So 3x times x is 3x squared. That's good. For my inners, for my outers, I have 3x times 4. 3x times 4 is 12x. Then I have my inners, 2 times x is 2x. Oh, ding, ding, ding. I got it right on the first one. Plus 14x in the middle. So this would be my answer. The combination that worked was that one. Let's try another one. Negative 20. So negative 20. Unfortunately, you could have -1 and 20. You could have 20 and -1. We could have the reverse of that, -20 and +1, 1 and -20. We could have 2s and 10s. So -2 and +10. We could have -10 and +2. We could have the reverse of those. There's a lot of combinations here. We could have 2 and -10. So then we could have 4 and -5, the reverse of that. And we could have -4 and +5. So unfortunately, there's a lot of combinations here that you could try. So let's try something, all right? You just got to try, all right? There's unfortunately 12 different combinations of questions here, but we don't know which one is the correct answer. So what times what, whatever number we put here, we have to be multiplying by like a 20 or something like that, or a 2, or I don't know. This one's a lot more difficult. We want an 11 in the middle. So I'm going to focus in on down here with the 4s and the 5s, all right? You just have to do it trial and error and see what one ends up being correct, all right? The one that ends up being correct is -4 and +5. You have to put the -4 here and the +5 here. 3 times 5 is 15, all right, for your outers, 15x. -4 times x is a -4x in the middle. Adding those together, you get an 11x in the middle. Notice that our first do work, 3x times x is 3x squared, but 3x times 5, -4 times 5 is a +20. So we do end up with the same exact thing that we started off with. So our answer here would be 3x -4 and x +5. Now you might be thinking, well, wouldn't the +5 work here and the -4 work here? If we did have a +5 here and a -4 here, let's just take a look real quick. The inners, we would have a +5x, but the outers would be a -12x. -12 plus 5 gives us a -7, so that wouldn't work, all right? Let's take a look at another one. Again, these are very, very frustrating. It's just trial and error, all right? Trial and error. So 2x and x. What times what is 3? Well, we have 1 and 3, 3 and 1, -1, -3, -3 and -1. Those are their only combinations. So let's try one out here. Let's see if we put a 1 and a 3 here. All right, if we put a 1 and a 3. Well, for the inners, we would have +1x. For the outers, we would have +6x. Well, when we add those together, we would get a +7x. Is that what we have here? Nope. So that one doesn't work. So I'm going to erase all this because that one doesn't work. On the next one, we had 3 and 1. Let's see if that works. Plus 3 and plus 1. So for the inners, we would have 3 and x is 3x. For the outers, 2 and x, which is 2x. Add together your outers and your inners, ding, ding, ding. That one works. So we would have 2x times x, which is 2x squared, our outers and our inners. Last 3 times 1 is 3. Notice that that matches. So this one is our answer. Be careful in one like this. You might think that it's the difference of 2 squares like we did yesterday, but it's not, because 3 is not a perfect square. In this one, our b term is 0. Well, if our b term is 0, we're looking for our b's to add up to 0. So we're going to have a 3x and an x. And then what times what is negative 27? Remember, you do have 1s and 27s. All right, you do have 1s and 27s, and the order does matter. All right, but I don't think that it's going to be that this time. All right, only because we have a 0 in the middle, and that wouldn't really make any sense. So we probably have a 3 and a 9 of some sort. So there are different combinations of these. So when we go to do this, we would have just trial and error. All right, see what works and see what doesn't. Let's try a 3 and a negative 9. Now, let's take a look at this. If I do my inners, I have a 3x. If I do my outers, I have a negative 27. Negative 27 plus 3 is not 0. So it can't be that one. I don't like where my numbers were sort of headed here. So I'm going to totally get rid of, all right, I'm going to switch around the order here. And I think my 9 is going to go here and my 3 is going to go here. So if I was thinking about this, I would have a 9 here. I would want a negative 9 somewhere else. So I'm going to try this one. So negative 9 times x is negative 9x. 3 times 3 is 9. Bing, bing, bing. Add those together, you get your 0x. So this would be the combination of numbers that would work. Sometimes these can be difficult. All right. Sometimes you might have questions where you have a 4 here. Well, remember, 4 is not always 4 times 1. All right. Sometimes you can have answers where the A value can be broken down. So you even have more different combinations to try. I'm going to tell you that this one won't work with the 4 and the 1. It's going to be a 2 and a 2. Could it be the 4 and the 1? Sure. Is it always going to be the 4 and the 1? No. All right. So what times what is 1? Well, we have 1 and 1. We have negative 1 and negative 1. Now, you not only have that for the 4 and the 1s, you also have that for the 2s and the 2s. So let's see if we put the plus 1 and plus 1 here. I don't want to even try the positives because I want it to add up to a negative 4 in the middle. So I'm going to try the negative 1 and negative 1. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared. For my inners, negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2x. Negative 1 times negative 1 does give me my positive 1. When I add my outers and my inners together, ding, 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 I get my negative 4. Take a look at the 6. Now, again, you might have 6 and 1. All right. It might be a 6 and a 1. You don't know. You don't know until you try the different combinations. But it might also be a 3 and a 2 or a 2 and a 3. All right. It all depends on how you put things. And there will be lots of different possible combinations. I'm going to tell you the one that works here is not the 6 and the 1. It ends up being the plus 5 and the minus 4. That's the one that ends up working. 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times negative 4 is negative 12x. 5 times 2 is 10x. 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. Add together your outers and your inners. You end up with a negative 2x right there, which is what we had here. So ding, 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 there is your answer. Take a look at another one. 6x squared plus 26 plus 20. Again, you might have a 6x and an x. You might have a 2x and a 3x. It all depends on what you want to try and what you want to do. All right. I know that this is going to be a 2x and a 3x. What times what is 20? You could have combinations of ones and 20s, twos and 10s, 4s and 5s. This one is actually going to end up being a +2 and a +10. All right, that's what that one is going to be. Now, be careful in this next one. We could have 8 and 1. All right, it could be what it is. All right, it could be an 8 and a 1. I'm going to tell you it's not on this one. I do want to show you what happens with negatives. All right, on this one, we end up having a 4x and a 2x. And the correct answer actually ends up being a -3 and a -1. 4x times 2x is 8x squared. For outers, that would be a -4x. Inners would be a -6x. -3 times -1 is a +3. One of the quick little ways to think about things is take a look at your plus. You have a +c value, but you have a -b value. That's going to tell you right away that you have two negatives. All right, that's a good indication. So you could at least get rid of your two positive answers. Add together your outers and your inners to be a -10x. So this would be your answer. Sometimes there are more than one correct answer to a problem. All right, as crappy as that sounds, it's true. All right. For example, in this one, there ends up being two different answers. You could end up with 2x and 3x, but then you could have a +4 and a -3. But another answer that you could have would also be 2x -2 and 3x +6. All right. Sometimes there are more than one correct answer. Your outers would be a -6 here. Your inners would be a +12. So that ends up being a +6. Your outers here would be a +12. Your inners would be a -6. That ends up being a +6 also. So sometimes there are more than one answer. Again, 2x here. So we have 2x and x. What times what is 70? That's going to end up being a -10 and a -7. Inners would be -10, outers would be -14. So that ends up being -24x when you add them together. For 15 here, this is going to end up being a 3x and a 5x. This is going to be a -9, and this is going to be a -15. In this one, there are two answers for this one. We have a 3x and an x. And this would end up being a -12 and a +3. And then this one would be a 3x +9 and a x -4. So there's two different answers here. Inners would be -12, outers would be +9. That adds up to -3. And then inners here would be 9, outers here would be -12. That ends up being a -12 as well. So again, it's trial and error. I would strongly suggest making lists. All right, that's the easiest way. Try something. If it doesn't work, try something else. It can be very, very frustrating.